back, everyone, to the Cancer for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we are a show that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aircraft maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes of giving you that split seconds relief in your day that can hopefully prevent a mishap. I am your co-host, Chix. Our other two co-hosts, MVP and Shoreline, are silently in the back, monitoring our audio, making sure my face stays fit for radio. We have two extra co-hosts / guests on the show today. They are from the award-winning aerospace maintenance competition team, Chix Fix. Please welcome everyone, Yoli and Kat. Hey.
Whoop, whoop.
Woo woo. Hey. We here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Will someone cue the music, right? I don't know if we can do that. That's copyrighted. Sorry. We just got to make our own tunes. Yeah. You guys suck. Someone in the back, you guys suck.
Get off the stage.
Shut up, you. I love you too, random citizen. Welcome. We've actually had this request to have the members of Chix Fix on for some time now. I want to say since the AMC came back online after the COVID, that was when we started having requests to have you guys on. And I'll be honest, at the time when they mentioned that to us, like, what the heck is an AMC, right? and I say that because I've bounced around for quite some time, and just even being in touch socially was just like not it, right? So I was that person that watched the same 10 TV series because I was just that disconnected from the world. And the only time I would actually see something new is when there was a new release section at Best Buy. It's like, hey, this looks cool. What is this about? Game of Thrones. Whatever. Episode 1, let's roll it. Oh my God.
Right.
You know?
6 years after everybody else had watched it.
Yeah, right.
I've never seen Game of Thrones.
No, I've seen Game of Thrones. I'm just saying, like, that's kind of like how my vibe was. Like, it's either I watch it from a new release section of a Best Buy, or I'm on the road and someone just so happens to have like the hard drive that has like every movie ever. And when you're stuck on the road or if you're out on deployment, I'm sure Kat can attest to this. There's always that one person that has the hard drive and has like, and you just get so bored. You just start watching all kinds of stuff like 24. What's that? Or freaking Grey's Anatomy. What's that? Or The L Word. What's that? I'm like, screw it, let's do it, right? And then that's kind of like how you find out what's going on. And then every so often you see trailers because trailers, and that's like the only other time I would get exposed to stuff. So when I first heard of the AMC, it was actually through MVP, and MVP heard it when we got requests about having Chix Fix and other teams onto the show, and we're like, what the shit is the AMC? And that's when we found out, and I for one was extremely shocked. I'm like, when the hell did this happen? And then I started looking at what kind of teams compete. Like, okay, there's schools, got it. There's commercial airlines, got it. And then they said, oh, there's military dudes. People like, well, say what?
Yeah.
You know? And then I look at the teams. Okay, who's on the teams? Air Force. Oh, perfect, of course. And then they said like 2 or 3 teams in the Army. Oh, of course. And then I started noticing like there were some foreign teams too, like Canada and Brazil and stuff. I'm like, oh, so this is a big deal, right? Of course, I got kind of jealous because they didn't have Navy Marine teams in there. I'm like, this is kind of messed up. But yeah, I think 2018 was the one time they had a Marine Corps team, and that was about it.
Yeah.
I would say you're right about that. It was either 2018 or 2017, and they haven't really come back.
Yeah, it was around that time. And what's funny is 2018, that Marine Corps team that went, I was actually part of that group around that year. So I'm like, when the heck did this happen? Where was I? Where was the invite? Thank you. You know what? I hate you. I'm not gonna say what that team was, but I'm just saying I was kind of jaded, right? Because you know, like that news didn't go around that much, and it's slowly picking up traction. The aerospace maintenance competition is slowly picking up traction, and rightfully so. Like this year was, I want to say, 90 registered teams.
Yes, and maximum.
And then out of those 90 teams, 10 of them were all women comprised teams, which is amazing, amazing. And just to preface this for everyone listening out there, I'm talking too much. I'll get to our guest in a second. And to preface this, in 2018, there was only 2 women teams, and out of those 2 teams, Chix Fix was one of them. Hey,
Hey.
hey. And then compared to now there's 10, right? And
Yeah,
it just
I
shows
think
like
I want to say there were 8 this year. Almost 10. Not quite. But,
almost 10.
Yeah.
Might be. I could be wrong. But anyways, it's significantly more than 2. Right?
Right.
So it shows like the progression of things. Just like, okay, we're slowly understanding that women have a stake in the game, and not just a stake, but they can win, right?
Yeah.
And case in point, again, I'm talking too much.
No,
There's
you're okay. No.
They have a section in the aerospace maintenance competition. It's called the Professional AMT Award. I want to say it's the actual name.
Yeah.
And the last 3 recipients of the Professional AMT Award were women. And I think
Really?
and 2
Yeah.
and one of them was actually on the show. Hey.
Hey.
So
Was it 10?
yeah, 3 in a row. 3 in a row were women.
Wow.
One was Heather from your team. I want to say it was Heather.
Yep.
The year before, I can't remember her name. I know she was from. I know she was from a school. I can't remember her name. And then the one before. I'm sorry, who was it?
I think it was Sam from WestJet, I think.
Yes, that sounds familiar. I know. I want to say it was
Yeah.
from WestJet.
Yeah.
And then the third one was another woman. Her name was Cassandra. She was from the Elevate Aviation team.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, see, it all comes together. See, so 3 years in a row that happened, right? And that's progressive from when women teams competed as an all-woman team in 2018, which I'm gonna applaud you all now. I'm gonna shine your ego just a little bit. You guys were one of the pioneers in that venture, so I appreciate you guys for doing that.
Oh, wow. You're old. You're a pioneer.
Hey now.
Yeah,
Watch it.
trailblazer, trendsetter. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
You did not catch dysentery.
It's not the Oregon Trail, all right? Calm down. Not
You
that
did
kind
not.
of-
You did not die. Congratulations. So, with that said, how long have you guys been a part of the aviation industry? Between the 2 of you.
Let's see. This is Kat. I joined the Marine Corps in 2007 and went into helicopter intermediate level. So
Ooh.
yeah, a lot of sitting in a white box all day and troubleshooting, but I guess you could say ever since 2007.
How long is that?
Don't ask me to
Don't
count.
math.
Don't
math.
math.
Don't tell me to math.
Yeah, how dare you?
How
And-
dare you? 17 years?
17 years.
Oh God.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome, man. Because normally when I hear women in aviation, it's not as long as you. It's probably like, oh, I've been doing this for 3 years, 2 years, 7 years, sometimes 10, right? But like
Yeah.
coming into the double digits, that's rare, right?
I mean, a lot of the chicks have 20. Some of the ones that retired had 30 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Wow, that's
experience.
awesome.
But there's so few of us that it just, it isn't well known that there
Yeah.
are a lot of women that stick around in aviation that long. So
And I'm glad you brought that point up because that's exactly what I was going with. Like you have some that you said 30 years or 20, 30 years or more, but there's just so few of them. It's almost like they don't exist. And that's kind of like a big problem, at least in our eyes here on the show. Like they've been here, they've been doing it. So where's the noise? Right.
right.
And
I think they took so long just trying to, find their place and find their footing in like a male dominated field that they didn't feel comfortable, being loud and proud about it. But here we are, fast forward 2024. We're loud and proud about a lot more stuff nowadays. So,
oh yeah.
you
let's
know.
do- Absolutely. And Yoli, how long did you say you've been doing this?
I started on the ramp in 2015, right out of college. So I went to AMP school while I was on the ramp so I could pay for it. So 2018 was when I started wrenching.
Wow.
6
Heck
years?
yeah.
6 years.
Nice.
Oh.
Very
So I'm in
nice.
the
So what made you to pursue aviation? Like was this like this thing like I really like airplanes?
Oh my
Oh gosh,
that-
neither of us.
Neither of us had that actually going for
Yeah.
us. Like a lot of people, when they talk about their aviation career, their dad or their uncle or grandpa, somebody they knew was in it. And so that's kind of how they got bit by the aviation bug. But neither of us really had that. But we both have kind of weird stories. I knew I wanted to join the Marine Corps, but I had no idea what I was going to do. I just didn't want to get stuck behind a desk. And that's because I'm a very hands-on person.
Mhm.
So when I went to go see the recruiter, I took my ASVAB and I scored really high in electrical, which is hilarious because I didn't know a darn thing about it at all. So I did good in electrical math, and they wanted to put me in avionics, and I didn't know anything about aircraft, helicopters, fixed wing. I didn't know anything. So I pretty much had to hit the ground running on that one. So I went to school in Pensacola and then Cherry Point, North Carolina, and kind of just went from there. It was really all my recruiter. It's what he did. He was a staff sergeant, and that's what he did when he was in, in the field. So he was like, I think you'd really enjoy this. You won't be behind a desk. You can deploy, you can do all that. So he's like, you won't be bored. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And Yolanda's story is even crazier. Hers is pretty, I think it's crazy.
Ooh.
I wanted to be a doctor, or I thought I did, because that's what everyone wanted to be, right? Like as a Asian kid. Oh,
You can say it.
So go for it.
Right, like that's my parents is lawyer, engineer, doctor. So I went to UCLA. I was a physiological science major. So after I graduated, I did so many internships and I just hated them all. I hated being in a hospital. I just didn't like what I was doing. And I thought about, it's $500,000 in debt I'm looking at. Like I got a free ride to LA, but medical school is just a totally different expense. And I feel like staying out of debt was important to me.
Right.
So, and wanting to be a doctor, to me, it was just something that would pay the bills, and that's a terrible thing. I don't know. I didn't want to be that guy that was just like, oh, I'm just here to pay the bills. I'm not very passionate about it. So my best friend was working on the ramp at the time. And he said, just come work for an airline so you can travel the world a bit, get some worldly experience. And so I think from then on, that's when the bug bit me. So I love airplanes now, but I didn't have it growing up.
Right, because you started to work on the ramp and you started like noticing the mechanics.
Yeah.
Right.
I like,
So
I like.
so you went from wanting to be a doctor of humans. Well, I say pursuing, not maybe so wanting, but pursuing being a doctor of humans. So and now you passionately pursued being a doctor of airplanes.
Right? Yeah, I think so.
And I feel like you skipped a lot because like she talks about the doctor part and how she went to school. She did get her bachelor's and everything, and she was, on that track. But she also did a lot of other stuff along the way. Like she took the firefighter exam and passed it, and she was gonna go to police academy, and like she did all kinds of stuff in between, and she's a tough lady, So
I was a mess. I did not know what I wanted to be, and I happened to find wrenching, and I really like it. I love troubleshooting. And I think that's the part you were right. Like that's the part of being a doctor that I would have liked, like diagnostics and all that. So I just get to do it on airplanes now.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, heck yeah. And so and I appreciate the fact that you experimented to figure out what your drive was, because a lot of individuals, they just kind of go with the flow of things to the point where like they just let people make the decision for them, and they just say, well, I'm here, I might as well just be good at it,
Yeah.
right? Or they just settle with it, right? Not so much to the point where they're settled and happy, but they just settle with it and they just stay disgruntled all the time, right?
Yeah.
In my case, it's kind of along the lines of Kat here, where I did not think of aviation as a first choice, right? I like Kat wanted to join the Marine Corps, but me being dumb freaking scrub here, I said I wanted to be a freaking grunt. I wanted to be an infantry dude, and I was 17 at the time. I was rebellious of my parents, and I said, I'm gonna go to the Marine Corps, the one service you did not want me to join. I'm gonna go in the job you absolutely did not want me to do because I want to make my own decisions, right? And I did so under my parents' back. I went to the recruiter by myself. I made the decision to go by myself, but of course I was 17, so I couldn't do it. So they looked me square in the face and said, "Hey, we gotta talk to your folks." And I was scared. I was scared out of my mind, man. And so much so. Here's how bad it was. Going off on a tangent. Like when I was at school, in the middle of one of my classes, I just got out of class, and this was around the time when schools allowed you to, air quotes, allowed you to have cell phones, right? And
Right.
when I say allowed, that means like you could have it on the premises, but you couldn't use it. But
Yeah.
I did. Of course, everyone did. And
Right.
my recruiter calls me up and he says, "Hey, man, your mom is here, and she is livid. I can hear her screaming in the phone. I was like, "Hey, man, after school, you need to come here now." I'm like, God damn it.
Here we go.
Right. And then, of course, I get the finger wag. I get the freaking you over my dead body kind of talk. And
Uh-huh.
and so, but that was when the time when I really found my footing on things. This is when I first learned how to plant my feet and really pursue what I wanted to do. And I said, I'm going to do this one way or another. Right. And I said, it's either I do this and I do everything against you, or you side with me, and then we can come to a compromise. Oh man, I felt so big on that one. I felt like such a grown up at the time. Like, hell yeah, look at you go, man. And then so, but my recruiter was the moderator, the peacemaker of this, and he says, "Hey, how's this? He can join, but I'll put it. But she wanted me to do something extremely safe, like boring safe, like
Oh.
freaking dust off dust from a crate safe. You know what I mean?
Oh. Yeah.
Like in the confines of supply where no one can find you, kind of safe.
Yeah. You're in the back of the warehouse,
Yeah.
stocking shelves.
Yeah, and that's what she wanted me to do. I was like, absolutely not, right? I said, I want to jump out of airplanes. I want to go do things, young and dumb, right? I watched G.I. Joe as a kid, So I said, I want to do something like this. And then they go, so they really start to get down into my needs. How recruiters, they really like to probe you for stuff. And they say, well, what do you absolutely love to do? I was like, well, I like working with my hands. I like problem solving. I like working with my hands. Okay, so how about this, right? And it's like, you can work on airplanes. And then my mom at the time is like, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
And it's like, that sounds fair. That sounds pretty
That's a
safe.
great idea.
Yeah, right. And then of course, in her head, she's thinking dollar signs, because at the time, aircraft mechanics were like rare, or they weren't mechanics. The aircraft mechanics she was thinking of was like engineers, and they can make like, at the time, like triple digits, So
Yeah, there it is. Engineer, doctor, lawyer.
yep, and that's how it was, right? So a little bit of background on myself. My mom's part Asian too, so I mean, like, it was all about the lawyer, doctor, EMT, stuff, politician, stuff like that, right? And so that's what kicked in her head, and I was just like, cool, big machines and big guns. I'm down with it, right? And so she signed me up, and that's how I became an aircraft mechanic.
Nice.
There was a time where I wanted to say, you know what, maybe I should pursue be a grunt. And I did try out. I did do it. I kind of did what Yoli did, was I just kind of messed around until I found stuff out. And that's when I really understood, like, okay, the school kid passion was just me wanting to get out and do stuff, like problem solve stuff, not so much as I want to catch bullets for fun,
Right.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it was fun, and Kat can attest, some of the stuff we do was fun, but there's a whole lot of stuff that makes the fun stuff not fun.
Yeah.
So
You had a dose of adult with it.
Yeah.
like, say, I like shooting guns. Cool. Wake up at 3 a.m. What? Scarring
Every
memories.
single
Scarring memories.
day after a night of heavy drinking.
Yeah.
About this trauma.
Like, oh, you like to go work out? Cool. 3 a.m. We're going for a 10-mile run.
Yeah.
Not like that.
I guess. Oh, and by the way, after said 10-mile run, be back in the office to work full day in 10 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
are you serious?
You get 10 minutes to shit, shower, shave, and I want you back in formation.
Yeah. It's like, okay, man, like, you're asking some off the wall stuff. But the good part about that is, like, through all these different traumas, these trials and error, we kind of find ourselves in the mix, right? Like, this is what really drives me to do stuff, right? And sometimes, sometimes the occupation lines up with the passion. Sometimes the passion is what makes the occupation fun, right?
Yeah.
So that's where majority of us who are in aviation now kind of feel, right? Like, it's not so much sometimes it's the job lines up with the passion. Sometimes the passion is what makes the job fun. Like, the job can suck, and some days it really does suck. But, it's like what you love to do. You see the end result. You see the people you're with. You see the things that you accomplish. Like, okay, this is fulfilling. I like this, right? And I feel, especially with some of the stuff that you guys have done, just being yourselves, honestly, it really sets a tone for everyone else who follows suit, right? Just being women mechanics, period. Because I'm gonna plant my foot on this one. Like, when women hear trades, they don't think, they normally try to think like, kind of like how the Asian parent does, like, this doesn't make you money, right? This doesn't equate to success.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them get turned away from it, whether subliminally or socially, you know what I mean? Like, I can't deal with this. So when you guys do it, when you guys excel or just do it in general, it's kind of like a poke in the face. Like, yes, you can. And why not?
Yeah, anybody can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it can be, rewarding, like, just personally rewarding and also financially rewarding. So
yes,
it's dope.
absolutely. So what were some of the biggest struggles you've had when you started? Like, what was some of one of the biggest hurdles you guys had?
I think for me, starting out, I started with the job I work at right now in San Francisco, and it's probably that there were no other women at all. So when I first got to where I was working, I started with a heavy electrical background, and when I passed the interview, they asked me what my background was. So I explained about, avionics and what I did and what I'm comfortable with. And they were like, yeah. So what do you want to do? Like, where would you like to work? And I told them I want to try my hand at line maintenance. So working on live aircraft, at the gates. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah. We're going to put you in sheet metal. And so that was really the moment where I kind of pivoted, and I was like, well, I mean, like, I can do it. I have some training from A&P school, but everybody with a license knows, or who's pursuing a license knows, A&P school is a very small amount of training for what you're going to do on the job. So getting assigned to work in the sheet metal in the back shops doing overhaul on like inlets and reversers, that was different for me. I had to learn a lot of things really quickly, and I think it was kind of similar to the military aspect where there's not really a lot of women, and just figuring out how to keep up with the guys, I thought was one of the things I was going to struggle with the most. And that was honestly a personal stressor that I put on myself, because there were plenty of men who came back there and didn't know squat either. But for some reason, I didn't have the confidence that they did. And so I wanted to, every time I go somewhere, I have this personal stress I put on myself where I want to do really well. I don't want to stick out. If I do stick out, I want it to be because I did something really well, not for, negative reasons. Like I'm slow because I'm the girl or anything. And it's so funny because, like, there are very few men who will make you feel like that, but you'll be very quick to make yourself feel like that as a woman. So I think that was probably one of my biggest things I needed to overcome. And I feel a lot better about it now. Here I am several years later. I mean, like, I'll pick up any tool or anything, or crack open a manual for something that I've never troubleshot before. But I have so much more confidence now, and that just came with experience. So I think for me, that was probably a big hurdle.
You speak up for other women too, like when someone comes into the shop and they're new, and you hear some of the guys say, "Oh, she really sucks."
Yeah.
You're very quick to say, she's just new. You can't. Are you saying she sucks because she's a woman? Because you don't seem to pick on the other guys that also suck.
Man,
because they're new.
I don't even want to jump on that soapbox because I get really I get pissed. I'll get pissed and I'll be like, you know what, John? You fucking suck. You suck at everything you do.
Damn, burn, son. I mean, I can put you on a soapbox for you. I'll put you on a pedestal. Shout it, please. And here, I'll kick it off. Watch me. I'm gonna get your blood going. when it comes for women, especially, right? You said it. You kind of hinted on it. You kind of put this self-stress into your head, like I have to do good, and I feel that stems from the environment that they already believe that you don't belong there, right? So any little thing they're gonna pick, right? Whether it be the people around you or the people who observe you, like they don't belong here. They're not supposed to be here. And they're just here to go around the locker room, so to say, right? Mm-hmm. The typical cheerleader in the boys football locker room kind of thing, right? They're not with the team. They just want to get with the team, air quotes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that environment, whether it was pushed on you or from your upbringing or not, it's that vibe, right? That social vibe that comes around. They're like, I have to do better because I'm getting scrutinized for every little thing, right? Mm-hmm. And that can either put the pressure to make you better, or it's going to put the pressure to just crumble you. Mm-hmm. And not half the time it does the latter, where it crumbles you, because some people and some women, men or women, when you get that kind of pressure to just be better, even though you don't know what better is, and that standard is not held the same for everyone else, or it's like pick and choose who gets it and who doesn't, it really starts to mess with you. So that's like really that really highlights the point, especially for women who want to come on to any sort of trade. Really, is when you walk into, like, it feels like you're going into the men's locker room and you know you don't belong there, like, you know, like or you feel like you don't belong there, and they kind of give you this vibe that you really don't, even though they say they're cool with it. Right? Like, hey, welcome to the football team. Come take a shower. Like, I'm cool. I'm cool. Like, we're in the same team, but I'm not that kind of cool with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if it was all dudes and I'm a dude, I still would want to shower with you. I'm sorry. I just don't have the inclination to see another dude undirty himself. I think it's gross.
And there are just I think because there are still so few women in their field, you'll get one of two reactions. You'll get either you kind of get the vibe where everyone feels like you don't belong there, or sometimes you'll get, then this one's almost, honestly, I'd rather you ignore me than do this one, where you feel like you need to do everything for me, like carry my tools for me. And I don't get me wrong, I appreciate when people hold the door open. I hold the door open for men all the time, but I don't like the doting either so much. You know what I mean? Like, where like I can carry my own tools. You know, I can carry all the heavy equipment out there, or I can put it on a cart and cart it out there, or whatever. But I feel like sometimes you get one or the other, and that aspect can be a little frustrating to deal with too. But in time, that's one of those things, just like experience, you know, like you'll start to learn
who you're going to be working with, and you can kind of tell, you know, how to explain to them, you know, I appreciate it, but, you know, I can get that myself. Thank you very much. And there's ways to be kind about it, and then there's times where you're going to have to plant your foot and be like, okay, that's enough of that, you know. Stop it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's for any type of trade, any type of industry, any type of profession. Like, it's when you're in an environment where people just kind of have like this baked in notion that they just are better, right? Mm-hmm. For lack of a better phrase, they're just better. They feel like they're just better. Even when they're like the shitbag of the group, just straight up ass, like plus 0. You know what I mean? In the whole equation, they're like plus 0, but they feel like they're better, right? I don't know how better else to say it. They just feel like they're better than you. I'm like,
right, just because they've been around for a little bit longer, or they've been in that department or something for a little bit longer, they kind of feel emboldened and a little more entitled to be like, oh, I know more than you.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's like non-gender specific. I was gonna say Pacific. God damn it. Anyway, anyways, like it's a non-gender thing, because I get it, right? Like other dudes were like, oh, you haven't been in this job for 30 years. You don't know shit. Like,
Yeah.
listen here, Timmy. I guarantee I can do math better than you. I guarantee with my freaking clubby fingers, I can still stick my hand into that hole better than you. So get wrecked. And a 9 times out of 10, when you prove them wrong in something, whether it be performance or by words, their number one go-to is to appeal to some kind of tradition. Like, well, this is how we've always done it back in my day, and all these other red hatter craziness. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We'll just be mildly toxic today.
Yes.
That's all right.
So
like,
you've been doing it wrong for 30 years. What you mean?
yeah. So like, and so again, like, to really shine your guys' ego on this, your counter to the appeal to tradition is to just perform, right?
Yeah,
Whether
100%.
it's not your best or it's your absolute best, you still perform, and there's really nothing they can say about it, right? Like, I nailed it. What do you want? Or the times when you don't nail it, you actually own up to it, and that's huge, right?
Yes.
Like, I made a mistake. My bad. I fucked up. And like, like, that kind of sends a message to the ones who just lack that courage to just admit it.
Yeah.
And I noticed this. It's kind of it's especially for the ones who have been well established. They really hate just having to admit stuff.
Yeah.
And that mindset is slowly phasing out, slowly taking longer than it should, but it's slowly phasing.
Yeah.
But, and I feel like that's like a lacking of emotional intelligence on their part. Like, they just can't fathom not having that Superman mindset, right?
Yes.
Not so much that I can do anything. It's just like, I can do anything I set my mind to. And then when it doesn't pan out that way, it kind of like, it makes them revert back to the Clark Kent thing. Like, I can't do shit, and they try to preserve that image, in whatever means they can. So
I mean, like, if you don't make mistakes every once and I'm not saying like, making it a pattern of like misconduct or something, but like, if you're not making any mistakes, you probably aren't doing very much work.
Or you aren't
yes,
learning.
speak, preach it.
Yeah.
So, given that, I think we kind of touched on it. What was like the hardest lesson for you to learn?
That everybody makes mistakes, right? When we came in here, we wanted to, just as a woman, you wanted to do well. You didn't want to lag behind the group, but it became really hard to admit that, I don't know, to admit to someone else that I don't know. I didn't know what a ratchet was when I went to AMP school, and it was really embarrassing, and I didn't admit it to anyone. So that lesson of everyone makes mistakes, and it's okay if you don't know. And I tell it to all the new people too. Like, I don't care if you don't know, but you need to tell me before you hurt yourself or myself. Just own up to it, dude. It's all right. Like, I think we all grew up. I mean, I guess the millennials, I don't know about the new generation, but we all grew up where we didn't want to raise our hand and be that kid with the stupid answer
Or stupid question.
have stupid questions,
Yeah.
and everybody would make fun of you. I think we're doing better now. I think the new generations are more forgiving about it. But like back then, I was, man, making mistakes at home too. That was not gonna be a thing.
Right. And I think
That's also like, along with like something I wanted to mention was like kindness, just in general. Like, you can make people feel comfortable enough to ask you questions, or you can kind of put up a little bit of a barrier and be a little, and it might be a little intimidating. So like, just go out of your way to make it a comfortable environment, and then they'll feel more comfortable asking those kinds of questions, And I feel like Yolanda and I get that a lot at work. People will ask us, like, they'll come to us, they'll be working with someone else, but they'll come to us and they'll ask us questions, because we're not going to make them feel less than or dumb, or, like, I didn't know any of these things when I started. So who am I?
Know a lot,
Yeah, I'm still learning every day, but like, who would I be to like shoot somebody down when they have a question about something? Like, help people, or like, if you finish your tasks and all your work is done, go help somebody else. Like, you can make it a better work environment. And I think that's why we have such a easier time at work, because people know us and they recognize that we go out of our way to help others. So then when they see us with something, they'll come help us. Like, I feel like that's great.
Are you guys like living our lives right now? Because that's like almost verbatim what we did.
Yeah.
That's almost verbatim.
Samesies.
Yeah, I
Same
feel like
twins.
that's how it should be, though. Like everybody love everybody.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how we came about, just how we are as people, and then kind of what Genesis the show here is. We would be around guys and everybody else who would just be so down in the dumps, just like defeated, right?
Yeah,
And we would do everything we can to kind of help them in some way, whether help them find something or help them just forget about that split second of their day, that just really sucked. And it came to a point where it almost morphed into a whole therapy session. Like people would seek us out somewhere. Like we would just be in our little areas or in our office or whatnot, and people just burst in like, "Hey, you got a minute?" I'm like, yeah. They'll say it all like important and shit. Like, "Hey man, you got a minute?" Like, yes. What's up? And like, okay, cool. And they'll sit down and they'll just dump, right?
yeah.
And I'm like, hell yeah, man. Like that's stuff like that is what really makes me feel good, feel like we're doing something positive, is when people, like you said, when people feel comfortable coming to you for stuff, right?
Yeah.
It kind of gives that I'm helping mentality, right? Like I'm actually making a difference. And I think that's what it really comes down to, is just making that difference. And we see that we can see that as an absolute result in our work when I want to make a difference. The difference is you made that plane fly, right? Or that difference is you made that important call that kept things from spiraling, right? Like, this doesn't look good. I don't think this thing should fly. I'm like, well, why not? Well, because this, right? You really plant your foot on that, and they're like,
Right.
and then you find out later that could have ended in catastrophic results. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, good thing you spoke up and said something.
Yeah. Right. So like that's the absolute reason of it, or the absolute result. And then you have like those overtime results where you see people like just coming to you, and then they start learning, or they start adapting and understanding how they fit into the mix, and then they start doing things on their own, or at least feeling better about being at work. Right. And and it's like, hell yeah, man. That's what it's all about. And I'm glad you guys mentioned that, because that trickles down, just like how animosity and failure is contagious. So is what you guys do. Like just being that open environment, being that conscious mind, being that I want to help mentality. That's contagious, and it spreads, right?
Yeah.
It's slower. I admit it's slower, but it gets there. And then people start feeling good about it. They want to actually do something to contribute. They start forming clubs. They start having like after school events. I'll say after school, but you know what I mean? After work events, people start wanting to hang out afterwards just because they like that vibe. And then next thing you know, you got a coalition, and like, dude, this is actually fun.
Yeah. Like coworkers going, like, let's go out for drinks afterward and have a good time, and like you enjoy the people that you're around, you lift each other up, and
you start like a bowling team or something. Maybe not bowling. I totally suck at bowling. Wait. So go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so with that said, like, what gave you guys the idea to start Chix Fix?
Oh my gosh, it was actually
Our coach, Laura, she was the original idea. She was the original inventor of Chix Fix.
And I think
I don't remember if she saw the competition specifically, and I think she did.
AMC. At the AMC, and she saw all these teams, and she was like, there's so few women, we should make an all-women team. And so she got together with somebody else who was higher up, and they decided, let's do this. Let's actually like commission an all-female team. And so it started, that theory was in 2017. So they had a meeting in December of 2017. And basically the way they came up with who was going to be on the team was they called out to all the stations, and they said, hey, do any of you have any female technicians that are, just very good at what they do, good people? Like, we want good team players on a team. And they explained what the AMC was, because a lot of people didn't know what the aerospace maintenance competition was. So the supervisors all kind of every station went out, and they looked at who was on their rosters, and they would go out on the floor, and they'd see, what you were doing as a worker. And then they kind of just word of mouth, suggested people, and they formed a team of 6 women based off of all these recommendations. And that's how it started, I guess.
Man. So the idea was the idea specific to the AMC? Like, okay, we're gonna form this team just for the AMC, or kind of this, we need a conglomeration of like a women-only organization within the workplace, and then it kind of just slowly morphed its way into a team.
No, it was all about the AMC, actually. It wasn't like anything extra. It was just there's like all these 80 teams of guys, and every once in a while you'll see a woman sprinkled in.
Yeah.
Mostly on the school team sides. And they were like, why don't we do a thing where we get an all-women team? And I think Chix Fix was the first commercial airline sponsored team. There
Yes.
was a team before us that was an all-women's team, but it was one of the only ones. And so I guess they wanted to be the first commercial airline to sponsor one. So they made Chix Fix, and that's
Nice.
where that came in 2018 was the first year I think we
The
competed.
chicks competed.
Yeah.
Nice. So what was like the enthusiasm, or what was the enthusiasm like when that team first came about, when they first coalesced, I should say? You know what I mean? Like, hey, do you want to join this all women team in the AMC? Like, I guess. You know what I mean? Or like, what?
I had just started with this company that I'm at right now, so I was pretty new, but I had competed, like Yolanda, I had competed with my A&P school, so I had at least done the competition before. And when the boss lady at our station found that out, she was immediately like, well, that one's getting scooped up right away, so we're putting her on the team. And so I didn't know what to think when they said they were going to have an all-women team, because at the station I was at, I could walk across every single hangar and not see another woman mechanic, which I was like, where are you going to get 6 women? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was just so rare to see women technicians, period. And so they ended up grabbing women from different stations. So we had women from LA, women from Chicago, women from Orlando, all these different stations. Everybody had to supply one lady so that we could make a team.
It's like in Mulan.
Yeah, basically.
So it was like that. Those 6 were like the only 6, kind of, right? We're just gonna.
No,
We're just.
I mean, there were definitely other women, but to be in the aerospace maintenance competition, you kind of have to be a team player.
Yeah.
And just like the guys, there are some women who are more reclusive, or kind of like lone wolf status. They'll go off and do their own thing, and they just kind of want to be left alone.
Or it's
Mhm.
a time commitment issue.
Right. Or it is a big time commitment, because you have to train for a few months before you go if you want to at least do somewhat well at it.
Mhm.
And so the time, a lot of these women have kids, and like they,
Yeah.
some of them are single moms, and they have to watch their kids, and they don't have time for this stuff. So it was really hard to scrounge up 6 women that were willing to do it
And
and make
time.
and had the time to make the commitment to be on the team and go to these training sessions. Like we don't train a lot, but like
We have to fly everybody into one place, 1 week a month, and that in itself is quite the time commitment.
it really is, because nobody's from the same station. So you'll have everybody. For us, we all fly to Houston 1 week a month, and that's like a business week, like a business day, 5 business day week. So you fly there on a Monday, you train for 3 days, and you fly out on the Friday. So you're really only getting 3 days of training for 3 months, and then you're getting thrown into a competition. So that was kind of wild.
I'll ask. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tall order, because nobody wants to go to this thing and bomb, right? Like, you want to do well. You don't,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of homework on your end. So you have homework to do. You have to study a lot, and like every time the manual for this competition gets updated, you have to study, and that's on your own time. And then you have to fly away from your life for a week, a month. So it was a little bit of an ask to get 6 women from all these different stations together every month, kind of synced up and do this.
Mhm.
But that's how they did it, and that's how we've been doing it for the past few years. This year it worked out really well.
That's how we've always done it.
That's how we've always done it. Yeah, I'm gonna be totally honest. Like, the story of how this all came about is 100% giving me Avengers vibes. Like there was an idea to grab a group of extraordinary individuals. To like address this need or something like that. Like I 100% heard in everything you said as if Nick Fury was telling me, right? So I'm just like, wow, this sounds really cool, man. Like freaking Avengers level threat kind of thing, But it more or less matches and mirrors, because like, where do you find these extraordinary individuals, especially ones who are willing and able to gel as a team? right? And that's as a person who's had to form teams for temporary reasons, like finding those individuals who are good enough, who actually, let's take that back, who are proficient enough to do the job, and but are also open-minded enough to gel. That's hard. That is hard.
So hard.
The forming phase is like by far the hardest, because whenever you have amazing experts, these are experts who take the field running. You know, everyone's a quarterback. That's the kind of ask you're going to. So you're trying to tell the quarterback, like, hey, I need you to be the center. Like, no, I'm the quarterback. I'm the one who scores the goal. I'm the one who makes the touchdown. I'm the one who leads the team into victory. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I need you to be the receiver. Like, no, right?
You want to put a room full of 6 A-type personalities, and you need them to work together and be the best they can be as a team, not just individually.
Yep. So how was that?
Be paladins, okay?
So how was that like when you guys had to gel together? When you guys came together for that ask? Like, what was that dynamic like at first?
You mean like in the first year?
Yeah.
Well, it was very much that. It was very much, we have a small conference room. We all met at an airport for like we all flew to the same airport, and we met in a conference room at that airport for like, I think maybe a 2-hour session. And then we all flew home. But being in the room, like, I think I was one of the 2 younger team members. All the other ones had much more experience and had been with the company for a lot longer. So for me, it was a little intimidating, and I kind of was like, I'll take more of like a back seat and just kind of listen to what these ladies have to say, because they've been around a lot longer than me. So I should show some respect and just listen. And if I have any input, they would, of course. It was kind of interesting when you have a room full of women versus being intermixed with guys. I felt more comfortable speaking up and saying something if I knew something, because I had competed the year prior, and they actually listened and took the feedback, and they were like, oh, okay, so that's more of like an electrical event versus what we were thinking, you know, that it was more sheet metal oriented. You know, they would listen, and I was like, oh, this is very different than the work environment I'm used to, where I kind of just have to sit down and shut up and do as I'm told. They valued my input, and I thought that was kind of neat.
And that's definitely a big part of the team dynamic, right? Like valuing what everyone has to say. And I think that's where the momentum clicks for any type of team forming. Is like, here's our common goal, here's our common assessment, here's our collective mindset. And then once they start valuing each other's input, right? Because you guys get those teams, right, where they, again, like you said, the A-type mentality. Everyone feels like they have the end all be all speak, right? Even though they don't actually express it that way. Like there's always that moment when every team member feels like they have to have the last say, right?
Yes.
It's always like that, whether it's aggressive or it's passive. It's just that thing. Every team goes through it. But once that valuing of each other's speak happens, then you see that momentum shift, right? You start like high-fiving each other. You start realizing each other's needs, and you start understanding how each other's think. And then that's when like the storming phase happens, where like you guys start brainstorming who's good at what, who can do this, right? You start pinpointing everyone's talent, and then you start feeling that hope, right? Like, we can do this, right? So so flash forward to today. I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but fast forward to today. What's the gel like when your team forms? Like, what's that meeting like?
Oh man,
incredible.
Let me just say, as a group of women, we're very loud, but nobody talks over each other or like steps on each other or anything. Like, I've never felt like I had such a sisterhood, honestly. Like, in the Marine Corps, they always call it a brotherhood, right? And you'll meet female Marines, and you'll feel like, you know, a lot of them are great allies, and they'll make you feel like you're part of the brotherhood, even though you're the sister. But just this team is amazing. Like, we still have a group chat. We all talk all the time. Every day somebody's jumping in there. We send each other pictures of all kinds of crap, and we just have a good time. And like, we honestly, right now, we have a tentative plan to get together this summer, just because we can't stand being apart from each other. We've just been having such a good ass time, and we can't wait to just meet up like in Florida or something and have have more good times together that are less stressful because we're not concerned about the competition.
And we all respect each other. I've never fangirled so hard about somebody else at work, but these women are so incredible, and I feel there's mutual respect.
Mhm.
You know, we each know our role, and we're all confident in our roles, and we in turn respect the roles that everyone else fills, and we all understand that this team would not have been as successful as it was without each piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I love that. I'm fangirling all of you right now. Just serious because like for a team as well established as you are, for even going as far as hanging out outside of a competition, because you've seen it before. Like teams get together, they coalesce, they accomplish an objective, and then they disband. Like they never gel ever again. As sad as it is, that's the dynamic for every team. You got to disband at some point. So it's kind of like you've held us together. We've clicked, we've bonded, we've accomplished a goal, we've had aspirations together, and then it's like, all right, thanks for your time, and then you guys have to disband. I'm like, but I like this.
I love you people. I can't
I can't just say bye.
Right, after
Yeah.
being together for so many months of the year, and like a lot of us have been on the team, like not a lot, but we're
You?
repeat players, right? So we've come back every year, and so like we keep in touch even after the competitions are over, and you know we've gone through things as a team, like you know deaths of a family member, or you know even like your dog passing away, and people getting sick, and people getting hurt, and like you just come to know these people and they're like family to you. So we're very fortunate in that we have that going for us, where we just absolutely adore these people, and they're just so impressive. Like these are some of the most impressive women that I've ever met in my entire life. And I mean like, I just fangirl over them all the time because they're just so dang smart, and they're funny, and they're good people.
Yeah.
And man, I just can't say enough about that. I love them so much.
I mean, I'm saying the same thing about all of you as a collective, like just absolutely really serious. I mean,
Thank you.
so how was that like when you guys showed up as an all women team in any timeline of the competition? You know what I mean? Like from the time you first started to how it was this year, like what's that like walking in as knowing that you're like one of the very few to compete as an all women team?
Honestly, I don't ever think about that when we get there.
We just want to go and perform and do well. Sometimes it gets brought to our attention, you know, like full force, you know, people want to interview or they want to talk to the chicks or things like that. And it's always a little strange.
Yeah, right. Because when we go there, we're just there to do the events like anybody else. So we kind of don't even think about it once we get there. But you're right. Like a lot of people will pull us aside and be like, "Do you mind doing a quick like 5-minute interview or 10-minute interview?" And we never mind doing it, but it's not really something you think of until it gets brought to your attention.
Right. And here's my take on that, just because like just of how different that is. Like from when you guys first showed up in 2018, like you're one of two teams. It's like seeing the Purple Cobras versus the average Joes. You know what I mean? Like it's not a thing. You know, like who are you? Right? It's like the new kids on the block. Who are these guys? What do they want? Right? And then you see them like just kill it. And like, whoa, who are these guys? Right? And then it becomes such a like a I want to say a commodity, but it becomes such a staple, right? To see that kind of performance, to see like the A team has showed up, right? The Avengers have hit the floor, right? I'm like, oh my god, right?
It's really nice to hear that, like from a third person view, it doesn't seem like just a gimmick, that it's just a women's team, you know, like kind of like flash the woman card, but it does feel good to be recognized as like a strong competitor and a great technician versus a woman. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly it, right? It's not a gimmick. It's not like dudes doing the competition in furry costumes, you know, like why are you showing up like that? Okay, I guess. But when you see them do it and you see them win, you're like, well, I can't really talk shit now because you know what I mean? Like they're in furry costumes, but they're good. What can I say? Right? Maybe not. Maybe furry costumes is not the right thing to say, but but you know, like, it's not a commodity that's just there to gain attention. It's a commodity that's there to freaking own it, and they do. And for those
Like,
out
that is-
there, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. It's definitely a thing. We did want to raise awareness that women can be technicians, but it's even better to raise the awareness in the way that women can be just as outstanding in the field as men. You know, like,
Absolute-
we're all equal. Everybody can be a great technician.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has the ability to do it. You know, whether you're a man or woman doesn't matter at all. So that's great.
Absolutely. And you answered my question right off the get. I'm like, what was your goal for this? And there it is, right? The goal
Yeah.
is like, we're here to kill it, right? And not just because we're all women, we're just there to kill it because we're a team, period. And
Yeah,
but
we
in
just
doing
wanna
so,
raise
as
the
being that presence in the room, you have demonstrated that you're not just proficient technicians. You've demonstrated that women are just as capable, just as proficient, just as smart, just as talented, and just as capable of not just winning, but like doing the job. And they've been doing the job, as you said, for 30 plus years or 20 years or more. So get with it, right? Get on the program, man. Like the competition's brewing. You gotta step up your game here.
Yeah,
And-
we're here to stay. Well, not Chix Fix anymore,
Oh,
but
yeah.
there will be plenty more after us that are just as good or better.
I mean, we told maybe not Chick Fixed as the name originally was, but I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping anyway, that the next bunch of people kind of take the colors and run with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
carry the torch.
Yeah, carrot. Yeah, that's it. Because it's one of those things that you've made the form, and then when you have to pass the colors or pass the team or pass the jersey or whatever, like you have confidence that you're giving it to the right person, but you also have that little thing like, I'm giving away my baby.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, but I'm just so proud of how everyone performed this year, and I think we all look forward to seeing like what comes in the future more than
yes,
anything.
yes.
I
Most definitely.
agree.
And the fact that there was
Mhm.
10 teams, I'm hoping next year and the years after, it slowly trickles upwards. Like now there's 12 teams, now there's 15 teams, now there's half or something like that, right? Or the teams, like they have like a good equal mix or something like that. Maybe not specifically just as a statement, but just because they're good, right?
Yeah.
And then again, like for all listeners out there, Chix Fix has actually owned a bunch of events like throughout the entirety of their existence. They've placed first in certain events, they placed third in certain events. This year, they were like the first ever to place third overall, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
Like the first women team to even be a finalist in the overall winners.
Mhm.
I think that's a first. Yeah, it
and
is a
then
first.
second in category.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge thing, right? So that's a bold statement, And for those out there, it's like whatever, they're just there to compete, or they only train to compete. They can't actually do the jump. I'll tell you, man, like those events are rough, and especially, there's a prep, like training prep, but at the same time, like you can't really understand what's going on until you're actually in it, right? And then again, with the competition mindset, you can train for years, and then as soon as you go on stage, you brain dump everything.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Oh, the nerves. That's definitely.
Mhm.
Like that atmosphere just brain dumps, and that matches and mirrors what happens on the field.
Yeah.
It's all fine and dandy in school and on paper and in a test and in a controlled environment, but once like the ramp starts going and people are rushing and money is riding on this, people's lives are riding on this, that pressure amps, and you're like, oh my god, like the silliest decision becomes an over the top task. Like, will you sign this off? Yes.
Right.
you're-
Would you put your family on this aircraft right now?
yes.
That's like the ultimate question.
Yes, and that matches and mirrors, right, for you guys especially, and that's a testament for women. It's like, we can make these calls, we can make this happen, we can get you safely up to and from the ground. So, there's been, for lack of better words, a lack of awareness or push for women mechanics. Have you guys seen something like that?
Oh yeah. Not necessarily like within our community, but I see. It's funny you say, do you see the lack of it? It's the negative effect of that. You don't see it.
You mean the opposite?
The opposite effect of it would be like you don't see it. It's a lack of seeing it. Like anytime you see, or at least when I was younger, I never saw women technicians at all. Like it didn't matter if it was aviation, automotive, whatever it was. You can just never see women technicians. And so it's just not something that's ever brought to our attention. But I'm sure the same goes for men too. Like, it's not a glorified job that you see posted and plastered everywhere. So it's kind of like you have to know somebody to get into it, or, you know.
I think it also, we have an extra, not in addition to the lack of women or the lack of visibility for women in these fields, there's also a negative connotation associated with it. Like when I was growing up, my dad was an auto mechanic, and he was very much so saying, you know, this is dirty work. I don't want my little girl doing something, you know, doing a dirty job like that.
Mm.
So you might even see people discouraging women from doing blue collar jobs.
It's very true.
Or field.
Yeah.
Because it's dirty, or it's not something that's
not ladylike.
Yeah, exactly. Or like just like how like women don't join the Marines, women join the Air Force or the Coast Guard or NASA. Like,
Yeah, I get that every time
like-
somebody. Oh, you were in the military? Were you in the Air Force? No.
Nothing wrong with it.
Navy? No.
Like-
Army? No.
Yeah.
Coast Guard? No. Long pause.
Do you want to guess the last one?
it's like the National Guard. No,
Wow.
it's
Or
like
like,
that's
you can't even
technically
get
the
out-
Army, but okay, whatever. But
Yeah.
but
You can't even
yes,
get
you're
out of
absolutely right.
You can't even get out of your car at Lowe's, like if you park in the veteran spot, and
Oh
they're
my
like,
God.
that's for your
your
husband,
husband,
that's
man."
not for you. And I'm like, I don't want to choose violence today.
It's like woo-saw, right? Rubbing your ears, woo-saw.
We're just gonna let it go. We're just
and then likewise, I'm gonna step on a lot of people's feelings today. Even when it comes to women being pushed into industries, a lot of it is like the white collar-ish industries, right? Women engineers, women doctors, women lawyers, women pilots, right?
Mhm.
And as much as I love them, as much as I love pilots, as much as I love women initiatives, women nonprofits,
Mhm.
a lot of the stuff they push is very white collary, very
yeah.
white collary, right?
Definitely.
And even the ones that do push trades, it's like that there's your one bit in the 100-part bit, you know, like your one per every 99 bits. You know, the ratio is very sad. And
Yeah, like right now we are 2%,
2.7.
2.7. So it's come up like point a few,
Yeah.
but we are 2% of the technician workforce right now.
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm happy that it went up a bit, right?
Yeah.
But even at that, right, it's a very sad bit. And you look at everything that's getting pushed, it's very white collary. Be a women pilot, be a women engineer, be women ATC. Good jobs, fantastic. I do not knock the stress that it takes to get there.
Right.
But you know, like I'm gonna be realistic. I'm gonna be honest. For pilots, especially, your jobs are gonna go away. So,
One day, yeah.
but
for
you
sure.
know, but you know, unless an R2D2 droid comes rolling down the runway, mechanics are here to stay. I'm sorry. So, a little bit of grace, you know, for the ones that keep you safe, like actually safe. Because once that autopilot turns on, you're in the hands of the mechanic, man. I'm sorry. And so, and then going back to like what you're saying with the dirty hands, right? As grungy as uncouth that is, that's a necessary thing. And especially the way COVID has taught us, there's no such thing as a non-essential worker. So, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, especially with what you guys have done, that pioneered and blazed the trail for women to take example from, like, we can do this, we can accomplish, we can coalesce and make things happen. We can become third place overall. We have the potential to be first place overall. That's a big deal. And that's a testament for what you all can do and what other women after you can do. You can aspire to this and more. And it's not just, and we need to get away from this whole dividing line between blue and white collar stuff. We need to just see this as, this is the chain of events that make everything happen. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And-
We can't
and I
be
feel
missing the gear and the theories. It has to all be there.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel you guys have really set that tone, and I feel like it's not said enough, right? So hopefully with us mentioning this, it helps put that on notice, especially like you can all do this. You sitting on the ground, you guys you're unsure of your life, your trade, or what your passion is. You can do this, right?
For sure.
And case in point is like, Kat and I didn't initially think we wanted to be aircraft mechanics. Yoli wanted to be a doctor, or not wanted, but she pursued to be a doctor. And here we are, being plane doctors and making things go up in the air and coming back down in the same piece it left. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Avengers Assemble. Yeah, Avengers Assemble. Yeah, give me the hammer. I'm not gonna lie, I love doing that stuff. So, what are some of your hopes and aspirations for the future of Chix Fix, women competitors, women in aviation in general?
So we broke that barrier. We were top 3 this year.
Yeah.
So that was my first thought. I was like, I can't wait to see one day somebody's gonna get up there to number 1.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, like the whole our team kind of being dissolved, like we retired the Chix Fix team, and we're gonna do integrated teams from now on. So it'll be men and women working alongside, which is kind of what we've been working towards this whole time. We raised the awareness that women are technicians as well. And now I am really excited to see some of our typically what you would see as a male team have women on it, and just to display that women are literally working alongside men and we're doing the same jobs together. Neither sex is greater than the other or better than the other. It's literally they're working together, like I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And
to get rid of that, the vibe of, oh, you don't belong here. Hopefully, by getting rid of that initial barrier, people can get a better head start.
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Absolutely.
Better and better in the future because you start taking away these barriers that they otherwise would have started with.
Right. Like, I think just history in general, you can see over time things change and dissolve away and you think less about them. And this is one of those things that I would like to think less about. I would like women to just come into the workplace and be like, I
like fixing airplanes.
Yeah, I like fixing airplanes. I belong here just as much as everybody else. And let's do that.
Right. Oh, you guys took the words out of my mouth, man. I was like, the only thing I would add to that for aspirations, especially for you, is I want to see aircraft mechanics, both men and women, be in the Hall of Fame. That's my stick. That's my hope. That's my aspiration. That's my vibe. That's my accomplish. I want to be an accomplice to that, right? I don't want to be allies. I want to be an accomplice. I want to help you commit that crime of becoming a Hall of Famer.
Heck yeah.
Commit the crime.
I like that.
Mechanic in there.
Well, so and the reason why I say this is because the reason why I made that distinction between allies and accomplices. When you hear allies, you think of someone who just kind of like does the Facebook post, right? Like they change the profile pic, I support you, right? Kind of like the thoughts and prayers kind of thing. But an accomplice is the one that wakes up at 3 a.m. to go pick you up, to go do that thing. You know what I mean? Whatever that thing is, right?
Yeah.
And especially in the legal terms, right? Accomplice is that one who is implicit in helping you do something, right?
Yeah.
You co-conspirator kind of thing. So that's the mind shift that we aspire to do, that to infect everyone with, is we want you to go get away from doing the ally thing. We want you to get into doing the accomplice thing. We want you to be implicit in committing the crime of helping everyone get an equal share at the table. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I told you, got you guys in on that.
No, fine. You're okay.
I'm gonna run around calling people accomplices now. I can't wait.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All about being accomplices, man. And I'm all for it because we're tired of the ally thing. Like, thoughts and prayers. I changed my profile pic for you. Over it. I'm over it. Let's go commit some stuff, man. Let's go do some shit. You guys want to go do stuff at the AMC? Let's do it. You guys want to hold a webinar at this place? Let's do it. Let's go. And you guys want to invade the women in aviation? Just show up en masse as a bunch of mechanics over an all pilot thing. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh, I'm super down. I'm down. I mean, like they can obviously they can be there too, but it would be great to have a bigger showing for technicians.
Yeah,
because it's all like you said. It's blatantly obvious when it's all about the pilots all the time, and they're very necessary, and we do appreciate them. But it would be great to showcase technicians every once in a while.
Yes, absolutely. So, closing off, what's one piece of advice you can share with women mechanics, women aspiring to become aviation specialists?
I heard this from someone. It's, wasn't it straighten each other's crowns?
Oh.
Right? We're all queens, straighten each other's crowns, and we're kings too, but help each other,
That's it. You kind of actually just, that's exactly the path I was going to go down. helping each other, right?
Yeah.
Just looking out for each other, supporting each other. Your actions will, the phrase you hear all the time and time again is actions will speak louder than words. Nobody's going to know who you are until you show them. And so go out of your way to be kind to other people and help other people. Don't make people feel less than you, and like Yolanda was saying, straighten each other's crowns. Doesn't matter if you're king or a queen, but like just go out of your way to lift other people up. It takes so much less energy to like put someone down. Like, don't be putting people down, lift them up instead,
And that's how you're going to get the experiences and the camaraderie, the community. And like, I didn't have a lot of that until I met you.
Yeah.
And honestly, all the chicks at the AMC.
Yeah. You're kind of like making the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely. I mean, like one day you might go help someone and it'll change their outlook on you that day. But then they might turn around and be that positive reinforcement that someone else's needs the next day. So it's never too late or too soon to be kind to someone else. Just help each other out,
Absolutely. Very well said. I love it. And I hope, that does become contagious to everyone out there and everyone listening. Yoli, Kat, appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us.
It's been a great conversation. We definitely need to do this again. So for those of you out there, hey, like you said, like be kind to people, create an environment where people can learn. If you have a goal set in mind, just do it, right? I mean, look at us. Like they started Chix Fix, they won 3rd overall. Look at us. We're a bunch of schmoes on a mic. We started a podcast. Look at where we're at. So you never know until you do, right? And don't let hope be the only strategy you have. Sometimes the hope is what kind of fires you up. It's the will that gets you going. Put it in gear and just try. But hey, let us know what you guys think. What are some of the things that you see and observe? Are you guys going to the next AMC in Atlanta? Do you guys want to compete? Are you and all thinking about joining aviation? What's some of the lessons that you've learned that we'd like to share on the show? Let us know in the comments, our social medias, our website, email, whichever is easiest for you. The absolute best way to get a hold of us and have conversations like this is through our Discord channel on Patreon. We have all sorts of stuff like this. We learn from each other, help each other become accomplices in committing the crime of being better. So once again, thank you, Yoli and Kat, and everyone. We appreciate you for listening, and we see you all on the next one. And bye, everybody. We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX, the number 4, MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.